Hi, I'm Dr. Callie Saris, and I'm going to explain how people of color are at high risk of dying from COVID-19 infection.
And I'm going to break down how racism causes Black and Latinx communities to die from COVID-19 at higher rate. Experiencing racism increases stress for Black and Latinx people, which increases their risk of health problems like diabetes and high cholesterol, which weaken the immune system in its fight against COVID-19. Act 1. What happens when a healthy person gets infected with COVID-19? This is a person with a healthy immune system and a healthy set of lungs. When exposed to the COVID-19 virus, the infection makes itself at home in their lungs, which is why it's hard to breathe. Sometimes the virus can infect so much of the lungs that people need a ventilator, which is a machine that helps people breathe when their body isn't strong enough to do it themselves. However, this person has a healthy immune system, which is like having a strong army of soldiers to attack the enemy, in this case, the virus. Soldiers in the immune system's army are called lymphocytes. There are two types of lymphocytes, which we can call B and T cells. We'll get into their differences later. Whether the enemy is a virus like COVID-19 or a bacteria, they have markers on their surface called antigens that let the body know they don't belong. These markers are like the uniform an enemy soldier wears when fighting for the other side. Lymphocytes, our soldiers, recognize the antigen, which is the enemy uniform, and plan their attack. When it's time to attack, the B and T cells recognize the antigens on the surface of each little COVID-19 virus floating through the body. Then they go in for the kill. The B cells attach themselves to the antigen on top of the COVID-19 virus. Then they release chemicals to call their friend to help out with the fight. The T cells work a little bit different. They can swallow the COVID-19 particle whole to kill it. Act 2. What happens when a non-immuno-healthy person gets infected with COVID-19? So what if you don't have a healthy immune system? When you don't have a healthy immune system, we say that you are either immunocompromised or immunosuppressed. People who are immunosuppressed are missing large numbers of B and T cells. These people have autoimmune diseases like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, or have had bone marrow or organ transplant, and they take medication that reduce the number of soldiers that are available to fight to very little. They could be taking steroids or chemotherapy drugs, which kill a bunch of faulty B and T cells that mistake the body for the enemy and attack the body. People who are immunocompromised have health problems like HIV or multiple sclerosis that cause B and T cells to work improperly or not work at all, which reduces the effectiveness of the immune system's army. Sometimes this causes their body to not even recognize antigens as foreign invaders. So when COVID-19 infects the lungs of an immunocompromised or suppressed person, COVID then can easily invade the rest of the body because the immune system isn't strong enough. Why does this matter? It matters because people with common health problems like uncontrolled high cholesterol or obesity or diabetes also have a weak immune system. That any person you know with uncontrolled diabetes, high cholesterol, and obesity are at higher risk of not only getting COVID, but also have a weaker immune system to fight COVID. And we know that many people of color happen to have higher rates of high cholesterol, obesity, and diabetes. Putting this all together, communities of color have higher rates of health problems, which lead to a weaker immune system, which leads to higher risk of COVID infection and a higher risk of death. So why is this important? Racism. Racism is one reason why people of color end up with these underlying health problems in the first place, and therefore, racism increases your risk of COVID-19 infection. I'll explain how. How does racism increase a person's risk of dying from COVID-19? I think we all agree that experiencing racism is stressful, and increased stress happens to increase your risk of diabetes, obesity, and high cholesterol. Stress does this by activating the fight, flight, or freeze system, which is the same pathway in our brain that was designed to be used when we face danger, like running away from a tiger. When the fight, flight, or freeze pathway is activated, it releases stress hormone. One of the most well-known is called cortisol. These stress hormones increase the risk of high cholesterol, obesity, and diabetes by telling your body to recruit sugar, which causes diabetes, and fat molecules, which causes high cholesterol. High amounts of sugar and fat in the blood lead to obesity. So stress hits the on switch, so the fight, flight, or freeze response is turned on longer than it should be. And if the fight, flight, or freeze response is turned on longer than it should, so are the hormones which dysregulate the whole system. Stress hormones end up being released when they shouldn't, leading to increased recruitment of fat, sugar, and other unhealthy body responses because the brain thinks you're in danger and you don't have energy to waste to break these things down. So experiencing racism increases the fight, flight, or freeze system, which increases the risk of getting high cholesterol, obesity, and diabetes. And experiencing racism increases stress, which leads to increased risk of these health problems. And because people of color have higher rates of these health problems, they're at higher risk of infection of COVID-19 and a weakened immune response to fight it off. Racism, y'all. Structural racism and racist policymaking also decreases access to healthcare, education, food, and safe living conditions, which also contributes to poor health. These things are called social determinants of health because access or lack of access to them can determine how healthy you are. Because of racism, communities of color are more likely to be uninsured, have fewer doctors that practice in their neighborhood, and attend poor quality hospitals. And being uninsured, having few doctors in your neighborhood, and poor quality hospitals can lead to less medical care and thus higher rates of cholesterol, obesity, and diabetes. Racist zoning laws or policies like redlining can also decrease low-income communities' access to healthy food options like fresh vegetables. Without easy access to healthy food options, residents in those neighborhoods have to rely on food high in fructose corn or high in fat. These are ingredients that contribute to obesity, high cholesterol, and diabetes. So having fewer social determinants of health is clearly stressful. And we already know that stress increases your risk of having high cholesterol, obesity, and diabetes. But now we know that stress increases your risk of getting infected with COVID-19 and having a weaker immune system to fight it off. So in conclusion, racism decreases social determinants of health and access to a lifestyle with healthy food, quality health care, and safe living conditions. Not having a healthy lifestyle is stressful, and stress increases your risk of high cholesterol, obesity, and diabetes. And we know that people of color have high rates of high cholesterol, obesity, and diabetes, which weakens the immune system and leads to COVID-19 infection. And that is how racism increases the risk of COVID-19 infection for people of color, and how protecting these communities from COVID-19 starts with addressing these structural racist factors that existed long before the virus did.